Welcome back, and I'm joined now from our Durban studios by Black Business Council President, Mr. Sandile Zungu. And thanks again, Mr. Zungu, for joining us to discuss this matter of transformation as well as the allegations or challenge that's been posed to you by the leader of BUSA and business leader in his own right, Sipho Pityana, who says you must come clean and that you are complicit in some of the corruption that's taken place in the country. And in your response, you say that Sipho Pityana is an enthusiastic purveyor of untruths following what he said about you in the public.
Well, I mean, Pityana has said a lot of things which in their entirety very problematic. Quite clearly, we have sought legal advice, and the matter has been handled by the lawyers who will be serving with papers. Some of the issues that he's articulating will obviously have to be ventilated in a court, which is the right platform for a discussion of matters which are entirely libelous.
And it's perfectly acceptable, I understand that. He says in the earlier interview I had with him that he's doing what he's doing because he believes that matters of ethics are also very important when we discuss business transformation. And he's also said, number two, that transformation has been affected in a very, very negative way by the fact that those who he claims are complicit may have helped keep out emerging black businesses from the transformation opportunities.
Well, the specific issues that he says, clearly I will not respond to them. They're now in the hands of the right people. But insofar as transformation is concerned, there's a very dangerous narrative that is going around the country, which unfortunately is being articulated by people who are engaging in self-hate and those who obviously despise black empowerment in general terms. But that perspective or narrative is not backed by fact and evidence. Take, for example, the most contemporary issue of the Bosasa. What we read in the public, which obviously still need to be tested in the right forum, is that there's a white organization called Bosasa, which is engaged in nefarious activities with the state. On the other side of the so-called corruption equation are corrupt bureaucrats, and on the other side is a corrupt white business. I'm saying corrupt in inverted commas. Where is black economic empowerment in that situation? It's nowhere. And if you look at another contemporary issue of the Gupta phenomenon, on the other side of the equation is an immigrant Indian family who were very prominent in South Africa. And on the other side of the equation are bureaucrats or senior executives of state-owned enterprises. You ask yourself, where does black economic empowerment come into the picture? I will argue that black economic empowerment has been a victim of the malfeasance. Our space has been squeezed as small players who want to do business with correctional services or who want to do business with state-owned enterprises. We find that those opportunities are already captured or in the hands of people who are really against transformation, as it were. So we are the ones who really, as black economic empowerment, feeling aggrieved. That said, team, I'm not giving a blanket denial of complicity of black business players, because there are cases like VBS. What we read in the paper is quite alarming, it's quite shocking. And taken to their logical conclusion, maybe there's significant play by black players. But the truth of the matter is that Steinhoff has got nothing to do with black economic empowerment. And pensioners whose benefits are backed by taxpayers, and therefore South Africans have been cheated of lifetime savings And where is black economic empowerment in all of that?
Sure.
It's nowhere to be seen.
And,
KPMG. So my posit team is that leaders of business who are self-respecting should be focusing on their own members who are at the center of corruption and stop minding the business of the Black Business Council, which is clearly on a rebuild and which is on the march and which is buoyant, which is making an impression.
If I understand you, you're suggesting, therefore, that Sipho Pityana should be focusing on some of the members of of Business Unity South Africa who may be implicated in acts of corruption or allegations of corruption?
Well, the unfortunate part is that some of those people are so sucked into the stooge mentality that they never see anything wrong which is done by white big business. And they focus themselves on black business, typical bullies. Unfortunately, as Black Business Council, we are very focused on saying to our members, be against corruption, and where you find yourself in situations where you can report to hotlines, please do so, because corruption is an enemy of transformation. Corruption is against the interests of the poor, who are weak and marginalized, and we have a responsibility to join in the fight against corruption. But we will not be sidetracked by people who really have an agenda which is set somewhere else. We have a mission, we have a historic mission as Black Business Council to help transform the economy so that black people have got a much bigger role to play as owners, as managers, and to assist the country to assume its rightful place in the economy.
The Minister of Finance, Mr. Tito Mboweni, said that the past 10 years were wasted years, and economically speaking, and also from the black economic empowerment point of view, as well as affirmative action. Do you think that the 10 years, more or less 10 years, were a squandered period for the emerging black businesses as well as black professionals?
Let me tell you, I think from a Black Business Council, look, every epoch in our country's transformation, even during apartheid days, was not a wasted period. Because we learned as a people, one, to be resilient and to internalize that never again. It was a tragic time, but we internalized certain things which define us as a people. Even the colonialism itself was tragic, but it was an opportunity for us as a people to learn and hopefully to become better people. The last 10 years have been very challenging years economically, but far from defining them in that adjective, wasted. We as Black Business Council are saying it's an opportunity for us to take transformation forward. We are learning from the sagas of KPMG, we are learning from the sagas of SAP, we are learning from the overruns in the building of Medupe and Gusile, and we have seen multinationals literally raping this country and taking billions out of this country. We are crying about that because that's what should have gone to the people of South Africa. But we'll not call it wasted. We'll see it as an opportunity that should teach us to be a better people. And certainly we are taking that responsibility as Black Business Council to define ourselves in the positive, that we're a force of good and we can be counted in trying to find solutions for this country.
And not so long ago, I mean, the talk was that the problems facing the country were those of resistance to radical economic transformation, as well as the resistance on the part of so-called white monopoly capital. But what is emerging from the different commissions is telling a different story altogether, and has shocked a lot of people that the extent of corruption was so entrenched and so widespread, and in some of the highly respected institutions of the state, as well as the state-owned entities. Are you shocked by all of this? I mean, when you look at where we come from, where the debate was, and what is coming out of these commissions, particularly the Zondo Commission?
We're absolutely shocked at the extent of the rot that seemingly had set in our society. Quantums of numbers that of monies that were lost, goes to hundreds of billions, not in terms of that was stolen or overcharging of state-owned enterprises. Even the cost overruns in large-scale capital projects, whether you talk about the oil pipeline within the Transnet pipeline, or you talk about the build of Medupe and Gusile, or even the ongoing train rebuild, or even the locomotives within Transnet. These are large-scale projects that happened in the last 10 years. What is emerging is that there was wanton and large-scale theft. In addition to what is emerging within the Zondo Commission, the PIC Commission, and the SARS Commission, are basically a plethora of malfeasances that should force us all as South Africans to hang our heads in shame. That's why we have a serious problem when one of us, who terms himself as among us, goes on a rampage as if the narrative is black economic empowerment is equal to corruption, and misses the whole point about the scale of corruption that happens outside of the realm of black economic empowerment.
Well, as I indicated, I spoke to him earlier, and he's suggesting that maybe there should be a public debate on this matter of ethical conduct and test whether individuals or organizations were complicit in the corruption that may have taken place at some of the state-owned entities. Will you take him up on that challenge?
Well, quite frankly, Tim, I have an organization to lead. I've got the Black Business Council, which has entrusted me with the responsibility to guide it out of the stormy waters, which we have thrust ourselves in ourselves. We're taking the responsibility. I really have little time, if any, for a debate with people who must still decide whether they are politicians or they're tribal warlords or they're business people. But insofar as they are business people, the debate they're triggering is entirely misplaced and littered with untruths, which basically makes for a very nasty point of departure as a debate. There can't be a debate. I've just taken him to the lawyers, that's all.
But as we conclude our discussion, he says he was motivated by the fact that your actions specifically, together with others, but in your case, blemished the whole effort of black economic empowerment, and that is why he's urging you to come clean so that there can be a fresh start, and then those who were marginalized can see that people like yourself in leadership positions are willing to take responsibility and cleanse themselves of whatever went wrong in the past.
Come on, really, Tim, do you believe him? Do you really, I mean, look, you are the host of this discussion. Well, do you really believe him? What tends to motivate people like that? What tends to motivate people like that are their own failures elsewhere. And they seek to try to understand how people like myself, much younger than them, are navigating out of a very complex socio-political environment and winning on a sustainable basis. And they want to attribute our success to something else. They are creating scarecrows, which have no space in the public discourse. The truth of the matter is that South Africa is a very complex socio-political environment, and to succeed at the highest level in business, you must have the savvy, the sophistication, and at the end of the day, you must also have the gravitas to negotiate your way out of issues. There will be Madiba who will be succeeded by Thabo Mbeki, succeeded by Zuma or Kgalema and Zuma, and now Ramaphosa. People like myself will succeed and continue to succeed. Why? Because we have the sophistry to do so, not because of all these things that are seen by narrow people elsewhere. And he will have an opportunity sometime in future to obviously answer for his untruths in a proper court of law.
So the matter is going to the courts, as you say?
Like I said, I mean, he will be served with papers next week.
Sandile Zungu, thank you very much for talking to us, and I'm sure, in not so distant future, we will look at the work of the Black Business Council itself, so we can learn a little bit more about your work and the organization. Thank you.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having us here.
And thank you for joining the Modise Network. We'll be with you again next week. And from us, enjoy the rest of your day.